there are several stages in making a puppet. The first is, of course, what is the character it has to be? Then what does it have to do? How does it have to move? For me, it's very important to understand the movement required of the figure, what role it has to play, what space it has to occupy on the stage, because the barriers behind which you manipulate it, or whether you manipulate it in the open, all determine how it's constructed. So a knowledge of what its movement is vital. Then, knowing what it has to do, perhaps one has to study anatomy, if it's to be a chimpanzee or if it's to be a horse. First step on the horse job was to go to the Natural History Museum here and look at a skeleton of a horse which has a skin on the one side and a skeleton on the other side. So you see where the bones fit into the skin. Then you have to reduce that fabulous movement of a real horse into what can be achieved with a manipulator inside. With the case of the horses, we tried out a paper version of a horse. Then we tried out whether somebody could actually sit on two manipulators. So we constructed a little ladder between the shoulders of two people, had somebody sit on the ladder in the middle, realized it was possible and not too heavy. So that we already had the potential of a two manipulator horse. The design of the puppet, how it's going to look, it can often be determined by what it has to do. In the case of these horses, knowing the anatomy of the horse, knowing that the horses had to be light enough to be carried, had to be flexible enough to fall over and die, and bear the weight of the manipulator inside as the manipulator fell on the side of the horse, having flex in the legs so that they didn't crack if somebody knelt on them in that process. Being able to steer the neck from inside, all of these mechanical needs of the horse determined that it had to have a flexible material. So cane was chosen. You couldn't have a solid head because at the end of a 1.5 meter long neck or a meter long neck, anything is heavy. So it also had to be cane and cloth. And then knowing that these were kind of the restrictions with which to build the horse, some kind of graphic quality needed to be incorporated into the look. And the guy that I was working with developed a system of sewing cane around plywood shapes, which gave the form of the horse, but also the flex of the cane. So incredibly detailed plans of the horses were drawn up. These were blown up to full size. Each rib was laid out on a piece of board with nails, and soaked cane was then shaped and dried in these forms. When they were dry, they were all sewn together. So bit by bit, every element of the horse came together in that way. That's why it took so long.